right, bang, bang. It's Wednesday, January 10th. The rundown here. It's your pal Clem. We got the two Chicago boys. Chicago's from birth, Eddie. Chicago about a year ago, Uncle Chaps. And we are in for another episode of the rundown. It's a big episode today because you know what? Yesterday, they didn't stray from a lot of topics. They just kept it on basically Michigan, the greatest college football team ever, I believe is where we're standing right now. That's the company line here at Barstool. I'm not going to oppose that. Chaps, Michigan best team ever? Yes or no?
I'm still going to go LSU and maybe 2003 Miami Hurricanes.
2001 Miami Hurricanes. Greatest
Yeah,
team
that's
ever.
right.
Oh, best Wikipedia page ever. Eddie, Michigan greatest team ever.
Guys, I'm on tilt this whole show. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
He's
gonna try to
going
be a
through
good
it.
sport. I'm just so mad about the Bears, but the Hurricanes are good. Michigan, I took Washington and Michigan looked really good. LSU's a good team too. Yeah.
I mean, guys, it's the boss, man. You got to say yes. You nod your head. You say yes, especially Eddie. He's our fucking teammate, Team Ziti. We had a match last night. Go check out the dozen. But let's get into the show right now. First topic, Eddie touched on it. We got NFL Black Monday spilling into Tuesday. A little bit of Black Wednesday coming on as well. I don't know when we stop using that term for like days of the week because I imagine there might be a firing tomorrow, maybe with our boss's team in New England. We'll have to see. Anyway, former New England player, biggest story yesterday. Mike Vrabel fired by the Tennessee Titans. 6 years there in Tennessee, 54 and 44, 45 record. Had them going to the playoffs a bunch of times, took out Tom Brady in his last game with the Pats, made it to the AFC Championship game. Since we're going to let Eddie in cool down period, Chapsy, AFC South guy, are you happy as a Jaguars fan to face Mike Vrabel anymore? I mean, knocked you out of the playoffs this year.
I saw one of the questions was, would you rather have your current head coach than Mike Vrabel? And I think my answer is an unequivocal yes. I would rather have Mike Vrabel. I mean, simply because he's going to get a good offensive coordinator. You might be able to go get Arthur Smith again and bring that crew back together. But I don't think I would, if it was presented, ideal world, yes, Vrabel. But I don't want to give Trevor his third coach in 4 years either.
That's true. That's true. Especially after we saw the stats. I don't know if John Rich can throw this in the graphic. Daniel Jones' first games versus Trevor Lawrence. They're basically the same quarterback. Except Daniel Jones was 1-0 against Trevor Lawrence.
No, we're not doing this, Clem. It's not even remotely the same. Whenever Daniel Jones has fucking Urban Meyer as his head coach, while Urban Meyer's fingering in people's buttholes instead of trying to help Trevor out, while Urban Meyer's kicking the kickers in the head, while he's out there with co-eds doing all cheating on his wife multiple times, that affected Trevor because Trevor's a good boy. He's never been around a head coach like that. He had the Saint. Some say Dabo, like who Dabo tries to be as moral as possible. So, no, I reject that. And in fact, I rebuke that comparison totally.
That's fair. I mean, Jason Garrett was the Giants' offensive coordinator for two of Daniel Jones's seasons, who you mocked me mercilessly as soon as that hiring was announced. Rightfully so, as it turns out. I'll answer this question from my own perspective. The fucking was it Kombucha
Yeah.
girl?
Yeah.
She does look like me with a wig. I love my guy Dabes, and I'm like, but I want Vrabel, but I love Dabes, but no, but Vrabel's fucking awesome. I think he's like, this is, I think, going to be like Andy Reid when he got fired. I figured he'll have his pick of the litter. He'll go to the new team and probably just start winning right away. He made the Tennessee fucking Titans matter. And it's not like he had this like a plethora of offense. He had a freak show in Derrick Henry. They had A.J. Brown, who's like a freak show in his own right. Ryan Tannehill was like a good enough quarterback who was a reclamation project. Mariota, he had fucking Malik Willis for 11 games. I saw Will Levis. I think he's going to do awesome. Did you guys catch that clip of Taylor Lewan? He was on the Rich Eisen show when he found out the news, and he was just like, Vrabel's not the problem there.
And he looked like legitimately upset and like pissed off for Vrabel. And that's how all those guys that played for him are. They all love him.
Yeah. So I feel like the locker room there probably isn't thrilled. I let out like an audible like, whoa, because I think we all thought it could happen. I didn't think it would happen. My beloved Edward, now I'm going to throw it to you because I know you're on tilt. Give me your thoughts on Vrabel, which I think are going to then bleed into your thoughts on Eberflus, Luke Getsy, and the whole 9 yards right
Well, I believe your question was, would you take Mike Vrabel over your head coach, Clem? Clem, I love you more than anyone maybe in this world.
Wow.
I think I'd run you over with a pickup truck to have Mike Vrabel over Matt
Mm.
Eberflus as the head coach of the Chicago Bears.
Would you chop off John Rich's head to have Mike Vrabel as the head coach?
I would
Good
chop
question.
off John Rich's head, put it in a jar of glass, and I'd put it on that shelf, and it would be a decoration for everyone to see for years to come. I would not even think twice because he's part of the reason because Eberflus is their cold soul defensive coordinator. So, in a roundabout way, I would love to have John Rich's head in this situation.
John Rich should honestly be ashamed of himself for what he did to you.
That's fucked
He
up,
should.
man. Yeah,
He
Mm-hmm.
he's not
should.
right.
But
Yeah.
listen, Vrabel's a great coach. That's a stunning firing. He did more with less a lot there, I thought. I really did. And I truly believe, and I'm sorry to keep making this about the Bears. Obviously, I'm very passionate about them, and this is a news story right now. But if someone like Vrabel is the head coach of the Bears now, I think they make the playoffs this year. I really do.
Oh
Bears
yeah.
so many he's just a guy who wins, and of course, uh, they underachieved this year. They didn't play that well, especially
And
in a
last year.
in that, yeah, in the division that was winnable, you could say. But they changed quarterbacks. So it was a little bit of a funky year, but no, I'm a big Vrabel guy.
I don't even know if they even underachieved. They've had some weird injuries. I don't. Who was their receivers last year? They have Julio last year. That was
No,
Julio.
they did the same collapse as the Jags last year. They lost like 5 games to
Oh,
end the
that's
season,
right.
and the Jags won out to get into the playoffs and beat them the last night of the year to get into
GM
it.
got fired halfway through, and then it all collapsed. But he had them in that game with Josh Dobbs, who we didn't even know who Josh Dobbs what he would become the next
Former
year.
Jag.
So
He
I
was a
think
former Jag at that point, Clem.
that's true. He was a former Jag at that point. Now he's added like 7 teams to his resume who all thought he was the savior for a brief moment. The NFL's so fucking weird, man.
It really is.
So we have a couple other firings we could get to, but let's just start with the non-firing is our boy Eberflus. Eddie, you kind of touched on it. You said it in your video. I feel like you kind of just have to just cut bait when you're in this like no man's land, especially if you're going to potentially. I think we're moving on from Justin Fields now after that Packers game, right? You got to just have a clean break. Don't start the carousel and just keep going round and round and moving chairs on the deck. You just fucking start fresh, start clean, and then in 2 to 3 years, if the next coach is the guy or everyone's getting fired.
We keep getting in this weird overlap period where a coach comes in and they get the guy that like Nagy came in, didn't draft Mitch, so he's going to keep him. He came in, he didn't draft Fields, but he's still here. It's just this weird overlap period where we will not reset and give new guys their whole vision and their whole process, and it's maddening. It's maddening because that's not really how it works. That's not really how it works. Of course, it can work. There's ways that it has worked that it's shown, but I don't know. It's just the Bears are insanely frustrated. It's a below average franchise. That's just what I just have to come to terms with.
Now,
Uh,
Eddie, let me ask you this, my friend. Because you have Justin Fields, you're going to be able to trade that number one overall pick and likely get a big haul again that could end up being like another one overall pick. Would you be okay with, since Matt's coming back, Fields comes back, and then the next thing you know, you could, if they are both bad again next year, then you could have the real clean break, bring in a new GM, bring in a new head coach, and you're ready to go.
But the problem
New
is they
quarterback.
keep Fields one more year. They got to pick up the fifth-year option. So then Fields will be here for another year, and they're going to be paying him north of what, $20 million. So more probably because it's the top five quarterback average or whatever. So it's it. I don't think it unfortunately ends there. Sure, you could just eat it for 1 year, but um, yeah, man, it's just miserable. I was really on like let's see it through. Let's keep acquiring more so like let's keep acquiring draft picks, but for this number one and like try to see Fields through. But that Packers game really left a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm not putting it solely on his shoulders, but uh, just as a team in general, they just looked gutless. It was just a gutless performance against the Packers. That was disgusting.
Yeah, and it seems like I we'll see what happens with the draft process, but it feels like Caleb's the guy, right? Is that what the Bears fans are feeling right now? Caleb is going to be the guy.
Dude, no, right now it's like a civil war amongst Bear fans.
Oh,
It really is. There's like there is you think Fields is the guy and he's been under bad leadership, bad coaching, or you think Fields obviously has proven he's shown enough on tape, he is who he is. Why would you not take Caleb Williams number one overall and reset the quarterback clock? So Bears fans are like the most divided we've ever been. So that's
And
great.
then you have like the third smaller group, which I imagine is like, let's give the UNC quarterback another shot. We missed on Mitch, but let's go with Drake. Which the fact that it's two UNC quarterbacks could go to the Bears, and then like if he flops, it's gonna. I mean, I feel for you guys, I really do, and I'm not in any great shape right now as a team.
I haven't seen that group yet, to be honest. That's an interesting crew. They're in a table, I don't know, locked under whacker drive together.
Yeah.
So
Uh, Touching on the other firings from the other day, Ron Rivera. I mean, that's like if Ron Rivera didn't get fired, that would have been the biggest story of the fucking century right there. I think he basically checked out like a month or two ago. Uh,
He
did you
looks
see the
so
Shefty?
sad all the time. He just looks sad, like he hates his life.
I didn't see him blink for like the last season. I don't think I saw him blink once, and I would catch a decent amount of Commanders games, with the NFC East. I don't think I saw him blink once. Did you see the Schefter tweet where he was like all the stuff Ron Rivera battled, and he led with three name changes? It's like, dude, there was a lot of stuff Ron Rivera dealt with in Washington. Three name changes was the least of his concerns. You had the fucking idiot owner. He had cancer at one point, right? And just all the fucking turnover that went on there. Then the other one was Arthur Smith. We touched on him earlier, maybe going back with Vrabel. I just want to say, as a Bijan Robbins fantasy owner, I was tap dancing on that grave at 12:01. Our boy Jameis pushing that ball in from the fucking, ordering the code red, ignoring Dennis Allen, who I think we'll be mentioning next Black Monday, and the entire Saints team be like, no, we just wanted to run up the score on the Falcons. Chaps, I feel like you know this as someone that was in the dirty back in the day. The Falcons Saints rivalry is one that would permit that kind of a running of the score, right?
Oh yeah, dude, and shut up, man. It's the last that's all they had to play for at that point. Just put it in. And I mean, we did that to the Titans a couple years ago and gave them a 50 burger for the first time in a long time, or maybe it was the Colts. But I remember being like the whole stadium was going nuts whenever they went for it. I think they went for it on fourth down to get the 50 burger, and people went crazy for it. Stop them. You're in the NFL. High school's different. College maybe a little bit different. NFL, there is no honor code. Just keep scoring.
Yeah, the week 18 games between division rivals is good because it obviously helps the playoffs. Means it makes them mean something because the playoffs are usually up and bounds. But when you have two teams that are out of it, but you get something like this, I think that's another like byproduct of why this is an awesome thing here. Moving on, we have playoffs starting here. Dolphins at Chiefs. Looks like it's gonna be one of the coldest games in NFL history. 0 degrees, winds up to 20 miles per hour. There's only been 4 games where the kickoff temperature was below 0 degrees. Edward, you're no stranger to these cold games here. I feel like playoff weather is like one of the sneaky best parts of watching this shit
Mm.
go down, you know?
yeah, this game makes me sad though. This game makes me pretty sad because I
Hmm.
feel like just both based on the pure offense of both teams, it had the opportunities to be really fun. And that's of course like saying like thinking of the old Chiefs, not this season Chiefs, like the traditional Chiefs offense against, Tyreek Hill, Mostert, A-Chain, Jalen Waddle. Like this should have been like a high profile, high shootout kind of game, but the Dolphins have fell off a cliff, and then the Chiefs are like officially the biggest mystery of 2023 so far. And then you add in the cold. It's just a game that I would have loved to be way more excited for. And there's just many reasons why there's no juice behind it anymore now. So
Great take. Chapsy, someone getting used to the cold. What did you take on all this?
I love cold games. I think no matter who's the teams, whenever you can barely see the field because of the snow, the camera's angles are struggling. Those are the games that I remember. I mean, remember Coughlin standing on the sideline facing the Packers, and his face looked red as a beet. Those are things that you remember. I love that, and I love a offense like Miami really having to get creative and figure it out because they can't just use straight up speed.
Yeah, that. Thank you for bringing up that Coughlin game against the Packers. Brett Favre's last game as a Packer. His last pass was caught by Corey Webster of the Giants. All-time great game and one of those, man, that fucking Super Bowl run was so magical. Yeah, snot freezing on the face of the
Hmm.
fans. Just love seeing. It's also great when you're in your like house or in a bar where it's like a comfy 72 degrees. You're just stuffing your face with wings and beer, and you're just watching people freeze their dicks off. Much nicer to be in there. Eddie, I hate to bring this up, especially if you want to tell the I'm trying to think of a way not to say this. It's going to trigger you. The Bears Eagles game. that took place. Was
Mhm.
that a cold like weather game? I mean, obviously Chicago in the winter, it's gonna. But was it like comically cold, or was it like I remember Carl's video? He seemed like he was pretty cold as he was leaving, screaming death on the kicker. Was that like a crazy weather game?
Clem, I'd love to answer that. I was in New York with a blindfold on for a
that's,
and,
that's right. That's right. Again, I apologize for bringing that up.
no problem.
It does feel like in a multiverse. So we did get fucked out of Chiefs Dolphins at their peaks like a year ago. I don't think Tyreek played the Dolphins a year ago, or the Chiefs a year ago, did he? They played in London this year. It was like 21-14. It was like, or Germany. It was one of those European games. And it
Yeah.
just didn't feel right. This Chiefs team hasn't looked right all year. And as Dolphins, like I like watching the Dolphins. Last year, everyone forgets they were on like their seventh quarterback by the time the fucking game played in Buffalo, and they gave them a fucking game all the way to the end. It does suck. I feel like we're definitely missing out on that here. Moving to the other side of the NFL now, Jimmy Kimmel versus Aaron Rodgers. Jimmy Kimmel had his like little monologue talk for like 7 minutes about the whole Epstein list. Rodgers went on the McAfee show, fired back about how I guess Kimmel's an asshole. I don't really know. I have lost interest in both of these. Everyone has their either pro Jimmy, pro Aaron Rodgers. I'm anti both of them, and I just want this thing to go away forever. That's my take on the matter. Chapsy, you.
I completely agree. They just talk about the same like Democratic Republican talking points, and I don't want to hear it from CNN or MSNBC or Fox. I sure as shit don't want to hear it from Aaron Rodgers or Jimmy Kimmel. Just shut up. Aaron Rodgers thinks he has an opinion, has to have an opinion on everything. It's crazy, man. Everything.
Eddie, as a Aaron Rodgers hater for probably as long as you've known him in the NFL, you have to kind of love that he has like the haters are growing, but he's also getting a lot of like supporters through all this too.
Yeah, it's weird because he got to a point, I think, like not even like COVID stuff aside. I'm just saying during COVID, like, it was doing stuff like in the Barstool verse. Like, I know he donated to fun. He was, texting Dave, and there was like funny stories at that. I'm like, all right, like I fucking hate that guy in the field, but as much as there's stuff like there, doing kind of Sunday conversation, whatnot, I'm kind of starting to like enjoy his personality. Now it's like he hasn't played in a year. It does seem like he's super glued in this COVID thing, which I understand. Like it was a war that he fought for a long time. People were after him, so it's hard for him to let it die. But I just like me personally, I just couldn't care less about it anymore. And then the same with Kimmel, like he has that monologue, and then I'm tired of hearing Kimmel talk about Trump too. So it's like it's just a twofold thing. I've had enough of both of those guys talking of those topics. So that's it.
Yeah. I mean, what it's 2024. When do we stop talking about COVID-19? Something that was
Seriously.
5 years old. Like, when are we going to do it, guys? I know it was a very big moment for all of us or a very long time, very big topic that changed the world, our lives. But I'm just done with it. I want to say the political stuff should go away too. There's an election coming up in a few months, so it's really going to get fucking
And
worse.
And I
So
get it though. Like they had a beef, like, and a lot of people came at him and whatever. I get it. I'm just saying for me personally, like I'm not super tied into it. I'm not super glued into this fight.
yeah, definitely. Moving on to a little lighter topic here. A woman was arrested and accused of intentionally driving her car into the Jaguars facility. Look at this. We got a Jaguar story with Uncle Chaps on the panel. That's a beautiful thing. They said the police believe that she did not intentionally drive through the front gate. It was not football related. Facing DUI, property charges, aggravated assault on a police officer, resisting arrest, and criminal mischief. Chapsy, is this just a Florida gal being a Florida gal, or we have something more in hand?
Duval. That's the way we do things, baby. And to say that it's not football related, absolute lie. You're telling me that after a 1-in-5 collapse, when I stood in this very office and told Eddie that we weren't going to lose another game, maybe one, and then we lost to 4 backup quarterbacks in that time period, everybody in Duval County should have ran their car into the stadium just to let people know we're fed up and get Press Taylor the fuck up out of here. How do you fire the defensive coordinator but not the offensive coordinator who had all these weapons and couldn't do shit? Somebody should fly. Nope, not going to say that. Somebody should drive a train into the Jacksonville Stadium.
Oh God. Oh God, chaps.
Yeah.
I don't know what you were gonna say, and that would not have been good.
No, kept it back. That's a couple years on the microphone. Shout out Mincy, making everybody think about what they say. Even though we
Oh
got a dump
wow.
button here.
Oh wow.
Eddie, your
There's a
take on
lot
the
of them
matter?
around. There's a couple naval bases around. So
Eddie,
Yeah,
have you thought about driving a car into the Bears stadium? Maybe to make your get your message across here. You seem very upset about it. This seems to, get people's attention.
no, I mean, listen, like this lady, like they have to get a few new doors. It looks like, that's like small damage. I think with my car, apparently there's a problem with the batteries and it would light on fire, and like that would cause a little too much damage, So they don't know how to put those like batteries out. So I would have to keep it. I would have to keep away from doing that. Um, yeah, I don't know, chaps. I remember coming up to you like right before that and being like, "Hey," and I don't know why I had a brain fart. I was like, "Oh, chaps is a Jags guy," and I obviously known that. But for some reason, I was like, "Hey, I think there's value in the Colts winning the division." And you
Oh,
just looked at me and you're like, "What? No way!" Like, and then to see what happened,
I
I
don't like that you're
apologize.
bringing up old stuff, honestly.
Yeah, I apologize for doing that. Um, and yeah, this lady, she was fed up. She was fed up.
Ed, just because you mentioned that with the AFC South has triggered something I meant to ask earlier with the field stuff. Are you prepared that if this does not go right with the quarterback coming up and either Caleb Williams or Drake May becomes what they become, no one's bringing up that you guys traded the one pick and then CJ Stroud then became CJ Stroud. Are you ready to then have the CJ Stroud be lumped into the Mahomes, Watson, yada, yada, yada? Has that, percolated in Chicago yet?
It's been like a small whisper.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't taken off too much, but it's definitely like when you go down like a Bears like dark deep hole, people will mention that. Because the only reason why more people don't is because I think everyone at that time the season Fields was coming off of, like
Yeah.
everyone wanted Fields to stay. So like that's hard to play the second guess game with that one.
Yeah, that's really moving the goalposts. A little football term
Yeah.
for everyone out there. Also, has to be said, I say this a million times. Lovie Smith was the coach of the Texans when they won that game, and obviously it was embarrassing. You guys got the one pick. The juju, the football god smiled upon the Texans by granting them CJ Stroud for winning that meaningless Week 18 game. So while we're all fucking crying in our beers about draft position the last month of the season, turns out like you could still get the best guy on the board. At least it looks like after a season, right? When Bryce
Shout out to
Young
the
looks
Jets for winning their
clueless up
Week
there.
18 game too.
Yeah,
Gave
let's
us
sweet
Trevor.
Trevor. Yeah, that fucking that Rams game. That was like the most worthless win of all time. I still remember that. Uh, I I know I don't think I could say this is the lady, but in my head
Hmm.
canon, I have decided that it's the Steals the Show Jaguars fan is the Jaguars fan that drove through the front door of the Jaguars facility. And people can tell me it's not. I do not care. She took it to the limit, stole the show. One of the greatest videos. I hope she's doing well wherever she is.
She passed away.
I
So
thought that might be the case. Shit, goddamn.
I don't know that for sure, but I would imagine so.
Speaking of someone who passed away, thank you for the transition, Chapsy.
No
An
problem.
amateur treasure hunter. He dreamt that there was gold under his house, dug a hole 12 stories deep, fell in the hole, and then died. A man in Brazil, a 130-foot hole. Absolutely crazy. Dreamt about gold, digs, goes, falls, dead. RIP to our guy here. Something to be said about chasing your dreams, though, which probably is going to end in tragedy instead of what the movies tell you. Is that correct, Uncle Chapsy?
That's exactly correct. And I love this guy because he died doing what he loved. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted to find a bunch of gold, fell down 130 feet, and found streets of it, my friend. He found what he wanted in spades.
That is correct. Edward, what's your take on this whole matter?
It's the American Dream. Goonies is one of my favorite movies of all time. And a good old treasure hunt. Like if someone seriously came to me, like I don't care if it was the craziest person off the street and looked like they were, mentally ill and they were like, "Hey, I got this map, like there's treasure here." I think I'd follow them. So I'm in.
There is a thing, like if you show me hard evidence that something is somewhere, I'll probably go along. If you just say you have a feeling about it, it's like I gotta follow it, right? It's like when you like, do I get the lottery ticket has your number? It's like your favorite number in the lottery. You're like, I gotta go for it because if you don't get it, you're kicking yourself. So this guy would have lived his whole life just thinking under that house. He went for it, might have ended his life, but you know what? It's better than just living miserable, dying a hero. So shout out to him. He's probably in a fucking in heaven right now, just surrounded by nothing but gold. So
We're
chasing your
finding a
dreams.
lot more people with tunnels, Clem, too. We had that one lady on TikTok that like did it for underneath 13 houses or something like that, and the cops came in and told her she couldn't because she was ruining the foundations of other people's houses. That was a crazy one. The El Chapo had all kinds of tunnel
Mm-hmm.
system underneath his house. the Hasidic Jews that are in New York now that they got a secret synagogue. Did you see that there was a tweet from a dude that was like, it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago, something like that. And he got dragged on Twitter for saying, I'm in my apartment, it has no basement, and I feel like I hear Yiddish coming from underneath my house. And people were like, you're so racist, that would never happen. And then he quote tweeted it back and be like, everybody in these replies owe me a apology. I'm not racist. I really heard Yiddish below me for a year.
Wow. I did not see that tweet. I saw the video. I mean, absolutely bizarre video, which for New York City, like I kind of even bat an eyelash. I'm like, yeah, it's New York. You never know what you're gonna find there. Wow, good for him. Nothing like people probably were trying to cancel him. And meanwhile, he had a legitimate Hasidic Jewish tunnel going through his house. Also, our boss Dave Portnoy, wasn't there rumors of tunnels in his
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
his fucking mansions he bought? So tunnels are hot in the street, man. I mean, tunnels we had a snowstorm here the other day, and there was nothing better, chaps. You didn't experience this, but Eddie, when you'd have the I don't know in the city, Eddie, but if you had like a dead end, all the snow would get pushed there, and you could dig like a fucking igloo and make tunnels through all that. Did you ever do that back in the day during a snow day?
Uh, I don't think so, but it was definitely an option. It was an
Okay.
option. Just never. I was just yeah.
The
A lot of
Clem
fun.
kids just had themselves a nice snow day, and we were digging tunnels through all that. It's very nice. Tunnels, pillow forts. It's all just kind of like you
Yeah,
never grow up, is what I'm saying.
yeah, for sure, for
Claim,
sure.
you know who would like to do that activity? Kids who watch WCW. That's it.
That's true.
That's a
Uh,
WCW kid move.
That is a big time WCW kid move. After show, we talked about people chasing their dreams. Dreams came true for the boys at Foreplay. Tiger Woods video dropped today. Before we went live, Chapsy, just give me your take on the entire video. You said you were smiling the entire time.
Honest to God, I think it's the happiest I've ever been for a long form YouTube video. I smiled the entire time when the guys were talking about their butterflies. To me, that's the pinnacle of working like in this kind of job where you see people happen to me with Deion Sanders. The first time that I walked in and I saw Deion Sanders growing up as a Florida State guy and a Braves fan, whenever I walked in and saw Deion, I was starstruck. And these dudes are like that on a whole different level, and it's so cool to have those moments that you could show your kids. Your kids are going to freak out when you showed them that you hit a ball off the deck with a 5 wood and you smoked it down the fairway, your best hit with a hybrid that you've ever hit in front of Tiger Woods. I mean, you could ride high off that moment forever, forever.
I told you, I honestly am worried about Mr. Borelli drowning in his own tears from the amount he
Yeah.
cried seeing Frankie, live out his dream and the way that all worked. And like you said, at Barstool, we kind of become numb to how ridiculous. I mean, even Jerry's thing, like last week, all the
Yeah.
crazy Tom Brady, TJ Watt, and then we have JJ Watt walking with Frank. And you just become numb to the absurdity. And then you see something like this, and you're like, wait, Tiger and the Foreplay guys. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. There was a few guys that I had to like. I was like, I would never ask to meet someone if they were here. I was like, John Madden was on the top of the list. Alex Trebek was on the top of the list. Both are dead now, so that's not going to happen. So I have to try to
Mhm.
find my guy before they kick the bucket or before my time here at Barstool is over. But I mean, just an absolute incredible video, Eddie. I imagine you're the same on this, unless you're gonna be like, fuck those guys.
No, honestly, I love those guys. I'm very happy for them, and they're behind the scenes crew too, Jonesy and all those guys. They do a
Yes.
great job. They're always out there grinding. And it's just to see that come to fruition after the video with when he won the Masters, when Dave leaves early, and like how much they've had that guy's back and through thick and thin. It's really cool. So I'm very happy for the Foreplay guys.
And the Trent Redemption Tour. Don't forget that, because the last time he met with Tiger, he got the question of where you guys stationed, and his brain completely dropped out of his head. This time he kept it together. He said he was going to puke, but he handled it way better. I mean, and even for Trent, somebody like Trent, somebody like me, like if you go up there and you are hitting the ball in front of Tiger Woods, I feel like just getting it off the ground is all I would be able to do. Like I could hit a ball pretty decently, but you put me in Tiger Woods and that thing's going like 9 fairways away. There's no chance I get around on it. None.
it's nice seeing the foreplay guys get a break, right? You know, they get to golf everywhere, massive numbers, huge sales. Nice to see them meet the heroes too, you know, kind of just put
Hmm.
a cherry on top of it all. And speaking of the foreplay guys, today in New York is Trent Day. Did you guys see Trent Day in New York?
I did, and I love it.
Everyone's showing up wearing khakis and like a black crew neck in honor of his 10 years here at Barstool. And the plan was for everyone to show, you know, him to wear it. And then he shows up and he just sees everyone dressed like him. And he was like in at 8:30 and like only like five people were there at that point. And it kind of ruined the surprise of the craziness a little, but I guess just shout out Trent, one of my favorite Trents in the entire world, as I said on Dog Walk the other day.
I completely agree. And when I started here, there was two hugs that I put on my Mount Rushmore immediately. Trent was one. He met me out at a restaurant and he came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, nice to finally meet you in person." We gave a hug and I felt like he was just a big old grizzly bear and I was his hug. I was his cub. Same thing with you, Clemmy and Eddie. Shit, top three probably huggers at Barstool right here.
Oh,
You're,
let's
you're
go.
getting a lot of warmth from these boys here. And Eddie, any thoughts on Trent after again we had the dog walk draft and he kind of was like shitting on chocolate and how he doesn't really like chocolate. So that kind of put a little sour taste in our mouths, but you gotta love the guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna, we'll keep our chocolate chip cookie beef aside on his big day for Trent Day and the Tiger Woods Day. So, oh, here's Chaps. What happened?
Oh,
Coming to get
nice.
one of these bad boys
Oh,
right now. Needed to do it.
you
There we
know,
go. I needed that.
Eddie, you could have kind of said like Clem, if you
That's
move out to
okay.
Chicago with everyone else, you can get hugs whenever you want. You might have convinced me right on the spot, but I'm kind of missing that right now.
Yeah, that'd be
Uh,
great.
so that's a rundown. We covered a whole bunch of shit, went a whole bunch of different ways, and see you guys tomorrow.